Sham Sharanam Mama Dada Sham Sharanam Mama Dada Sham Sharanam Mama सांसों की माला में सिमरूं मैं तेरा नाम दादा श्याम दादा श्याम सांसों की माला में सिमरूं मैं तेरा नाम दादा श्याम दादा श्याम.
An answer session.
Dada, the first question: how does one evaluate or quantify one's evolution as a human being?
You cannot do it on your own. There is no yardstick by which you can measure your evolution, especially spiritual evolution. Material evolution you can evaluate by the amount of money that you earn, by the honors that you have received, by the titles that may have been conferred on you. But spiritual evolution or philosophical or mental evolution, you will not be able to evaluate. Those around you will be able to find a change in your temperament. You will be more kind, you will be more tender, you will be more understanding. They will say, from where have you got this spirit, wonderful spirit of understanding? But you cannot measure your own, you cannot evaluate your own spiritual or mental evolution. Yes. Why have you put me on the stage so far away from you? Why can't I come closer?
So all of us can see you, Dada.
I see. I'm too short.
Dear Dada, who is Vidhata? Who is Vidhata?
Vidhata.
Why is it that they say that even God cannot interfere with Vidhata's will? Is she bigger than God? And can she rewrite the destiny of a particular person?
Can she?
Rewrite the destiny of a particular person.
Vidhata is your own destiny. It is the destiny that you have made for yourself. It is the destiny that you carry with yourself. That destiny they personify and call it Vidhata. Now Vidhata has been made by you. You have manufactured Vidhata. Therefore, you cannot change it. Once you have made it, you have to stick to it. It is your own karma. It is something that you have sown in the field of life. Remember, every one of us carries with himself or with herself a field of life. As we pass on from birth to birth, this field accompanies us. In this field we are sowing seeds. And the law of the seed is, as you sow, so shall you reap. You can't sow thorns and reap mangoes. There was a man who sowed thorns. And from that day onwards, he started having yagnas and having prayers and asking his friends to pray for him, to pray with him. God, convert my thorns into mangoes. God couldn't do it. That is why they say God cannot interfere with Vidhata. Whatever you have sown, that you have to reap. Vidhata is not greater than God. Vidhata is the product of the freedom that God has given to each one of us. At every stage and every round of life, there are two ways open to me. The Rishi of the Upanishad calls those ways Prayer and Shreya. Prayer and Shreya. Prayer is the pleasant. Prayer is that which gives me pleasure. It is a smooth, it is a slippery path. It does not cost any effort to move on that path. You just slide, you just glide. But it leads to your doom. You do not know it at the moment. But a day comes when this pleasure that you have enjoyed, the pleasure contains a seed of pain, that seed of pain sprouts. And the fruit that comes out of it naturally is bitter. You have to eat that bitter fruit. It is then that you repent. They say, why is this that I gave into pleasure? I did not move on the path of duty. I did not move on the rough, rugged path, the path of Shreya. Shreya means good. Shreya is the path. It's a steep path. It is a narrow path. It is a path paved sometimes with flames, with thorns. But it leads to man's summum bonum. It leads to man's good, ultimate good. If you always move on the path of Shreya, then your Vidhata is wonderful. The Vidhata that you manufacture, the Vidhata that you produce is wonderful. But the difficulty with most of us is, I think 99% of the people wish to move on the path of pleasure. खाता हूँ पीछे देखेगा, नहीं, खाता है तो याद रखना रात को पेट में दर्द होएगा और इधर हार्ट के नजदीक, और तुम रोने लगेगा, बड़े को हार्ट अटैक हुई है, डॉक्टर को बोला. No. You were given the chance. Nobody compelled you. Perhaps the host pressed you to take the dish, but you had the power to resist. You did not do so. There was a man and his wife, they went to a buffet lunch. And this man happened to enjoy the food that was given there. So he went and picked it up the second time. Then he went a third time to pick it up. Then he went a fourth time to pick it up. He would not give up. His wife said to him, don't you feel shy before your friends? You are going for the fifth time to pick up this food that is on the table. He said, no, I don't feel ashamed because I tell them I'm picking it up for my wife. But he ate 5 times the food that he really needed. And that night he started crying. Vidhata could not be changed. Even if he had prayed to God, God, come to my help, I've taken this food 5 times, I should have taken only once. That is Vidhata. Shall we proceed to the next question?
Yes. Dear Dada, is it necessary to match the horoscope or the so-called chatti of 2 individuals before marriage? If yes, how far is it significant? How far is it significant in the success of that marriage?
In the
Success of that marriage.
it is helpful if you have the chattis matched, but the difficulty nowadays is that where are the people, the true astrologers who can read the chattis? Or where are the true astrologers who have cast the chatti? Suppose the chatti has not been cast properly. Even the best astrologer will read what is there in the chatti and tell you. The difficulty is that we don't have astrologers of that type. Otherwise, there is truth in astrology. Astrology is a science. And I believe the day is coming when astrology, not merely astronomy, will be taught in schools and colleges. We read that in the University of Bologna, Italy, in the 16th century, in that university they had a chair for astrology. And everyone who graduated from the university would go and consult the astrologer. What is the best line which I should choose? And the astrologer would tell him. The difficulty now is that if you take the same pair of chattis to two different astrologers, you get two different interpretations. I know of a case which happened only the day before yesterday. They told me that one astrologer said, please don't enter into this union, this marriage, bringing together of the boy and the girl. He said, the other man said that there can be nothing better than this. Now whom are they to follow? They came to me. I said, I am not an astrologer. I cannot help you there. But this is the difficulty. If you can get the right astrologer to cast your horoscope and the right astrologer to read it, then of course it's a very good thing, yes. But so far as I am concerned, I would not wish to know about the future. The future is in the hands of the Lord, and whatever He does is for my good. But that is only a personal choice. Shall we move on to the next question?
Dadaji, I, since a child, have been praying to gods and goddesses. But once I have come into contact with a guru, I realized that I can only concentrate on one of them. It's either God or the guru. What is the right method?
If your guru is a true guru, then you must follow him. But I don't know what type of guru you have got involved with. It depends upon the guru. If the guru is of the right type, then you must follow the guru. There is nothing greater than the guru.
Dada, if I may come back to your question that you put up to us, that why have you been seated up there?
Why have you?
Been seated up there.
Yes.
What I believe is that because we, people have evaluated you the best, and we think that you are God sent for us.
That you? Every one of you is a God sent.
But I think if
You all are God sent to me. It is God who has sent you here, otherwise you would not be here.
Thank you, Dada.
Thank you, thank you.
Master,
Before marriage, we are told that we will be well advised to get our blood matched. Because if there is a trace of thalassemia in the blood, then you should avoid that marriage. Yes. Because the children have to suffer a lot. The suffering of the children is terrible. You should get your blood matched before you enter into an alliance of marriage. Yes. Shall we proceed to the next question?
Master, we agree that we have done bad karmas, but that is done in ignorance. We have been wicked children, but then God is loving father, God is loving mother. Can't He shortcut our karmas? And what about the grace factor which you have been always telling us about?
Yes, so keep on praying for His grace. Because there are, as our brother Om says, there are so many acts of omission or commission that we commit in our ignorance. We need the grace of God at every step in every round of life. My breathing itself is an evil act. When I breathe, I am killing bacteria. So many bacteria get killed with every breath that I take. Now that is something which we cannot avoid. We have to breathe. That's why you must have seen so many of the Jains, especially the Jains, sadhus and sadhvis, they always have a cloth tied to their noses, so that bacteria do not enter. But in spite of it, some bacteria do enter. And every breath that we take, we are killing.
Dadaji,
Therefore, at every step, as I said, in every round, we must ask, cry, pray, entreat, plead for God's grace. There is a story told us concerning a tapaswin, concerning an ascetic who lived on the peak of a holy hill. He did not have anything to do with other people. He did not enter into interaction with them. He never spoke a word to anyone. He never told a lie. He never was harsh with anybody because he would meet nobody. The life of man, every man comes to a stop, and his life also came to a stop, and he found himself in the presence of what they call Dharam Rai, the judge, the one who judges our actions. And the assistants of Dharam Rai said to him, "O ascetic, tell us, if you wish to be judged according to God's mercy or according to the goodness or the evil of your actions." And he said, "Why should I ask for mercy? I have hurt nobody, I have had no interaction with anybody, I had no len-den with anybody. I was alone on the peak of the holy hill, communing with God, repeating His holy name, blessing all of humanity. I do not need grace. I have done nothing for which I should plead for grace." They asked him a second time. And he said, "But didn't I tell you once that I don't need grace? Why are you asking me again?" And they asked him the third time. Then he got a little angry. For the first time in his life, during his entire life on earth, he never became angry because he had no interaction with anybody. Now, he became angry and he said, "Do you have brains or not? Once I have told you, twice I have told you, again third time you are asking." Then they said, "All right, if you want us to look into your account, we will look into your account." So they gave a clap. And there came a huge form. There came a huge form, and that huge form came and sat on him. He began to cry. He said, "What is this?" And that huge form said, "I am the hill on which you sat for 60 years. Now is the time for me to take account of the whole thing and sit on you for 60 years. Poor thing, he felt crushed. He said, save me, I want God's grace, I want God's grace. Then there was another clap. You didn't respond. There was another clap, and little forms came up. They said every day there used to be plantain, those yellow bananas, plantains. He used to eat us. Now is the time when we should eat him, because he doesn't want grace. Poor thing, he began to cry. He said, God, I want your grace, I want your grace, I want. Now, if an ascetic of his type wants grace, where are we? We commit so many mistakes every day, so many blunders, so many acts of omission and commission. Every day we must cry for God's grace. God, have mercy on me. There was a pilgrim. As he moved on from place to place, with every step that he took, he offered this prayer: have mercy on me, a sinner. O God, have mercy on me, a sinner. O God, have mercy on me, a sinner. O God, have mercy on me, a sinner. That is our condition. Shall we proceed?
Dadaji, is it okay to be attracted to two gurus at the same time? Can one be initiated twice? Because I love both my gurus equally.
I think you will be well advised to consult your first guru.
गुरु किस हद तक अपने शिष्यों से कठोर परीक्षा ले सकता है?
मौत तक.
उसके पहले कुछ नहीं, उसके पहले कुछ नहीं.
क्यों नहीं? But tak, limit you say. Yogi Ramachakra did not like to have disciples. He said to have a disciple is to have a feeling that I am greater, I am better than those people. But why should I think that I am better than anybody? So he never liked to have disciples. But there was one kisan, one peasant, he came to him again and again and entreated him to accept him as a disciple. Then Yogi Ramachakra finally, because he was pestered by that kisan, he said to him, if you want to be a disciple, you will have to walk the way of obedience. And the kisan said, I am ready to obey. That's why I have been coming to you again and again. I want to be your disciple. Then Yogi Ramachakra told him that before I accept you as a disciple, you see that point on the hill. You know there are points on hills and mountains beyond which there are deep valleys. If you fall, then even your bones are not visible. So he told him there is that point on the hill, go and jump from there down. And the kisan said, but if I jump down, I will die. And the yogi said, so what? And then the yogi told him that except you are prepared to die, you cannot be reborn. He told the kisan, he said, how do you get wheat out of the ground? It is only when you sow wheat in the soil and that wheat dies, then it is that it sprouts. Then it is that you get more wheat out of it. Except ye die, ye cannot be reborn. So the guru has the right to test a person to the point of death. Therefore, beware.
Dear Dada, if the husband has committed breach of trust with his wife, then what should the wife do, either to continue the relation or cut it off?
It depends. It depends. If the husband has committed a breach of trust, then the wife has, in several cases, permission to keep away from the husband. But I know of wives who forgive their husbands. Even I know of one husband, he learned that his wife had committed a breach of trust. She had gone and lived with some other man. Then he came to me. He said, my wife has done this, but I want to forgive her. Because he said, in my thoughts, and this must be the experience of many of you here, he said, in my thoughts, I have committed adultery with so many other women. In my thoughts. He said, not in action, but in thoughts. If my wife has done one thing, why should I? Then I told the wife, I said, you should repent. And the husband accepted her, and they lived as. So it all depends on that case. I think if the wife has a guru, she should consult him. Or if she doesn't have a guru, she can consult a spiritual elder. He will be able to guide her in the right way. Yes.
Dada, this question comes from a concerned parent. The parent says, how does the youth of today distinguish between standard of living and quality of life? Could you give examples?
I would ask for example from that person. If he could give us an example. What does he mean by standard of living? And what does he mean by quality of life? If by quality of life you mean devotion to values, living in accordance with certain values, then it depends upon the parents to become examples before their children. Parents should prefer to live according to certain values in preference to what you call the standard of living. It is that which will affect the child. But the difficulty is that so many of our parents, they want a higher standard of living. And when the children find their parents striving to live a higher standard of living, naturally they think more of the standard than of the quality. But I don't know what he means by quality of life. If he will kindly explain, it may be good for all of us.
Now this question comes from the last Youth Meet Bank, question bank.
I
So the parent may
see.
not be present.
So the depositor may not be here. Then we'll proceed to some other.
Dear Dada, today's youth is very career oriented, and quite often they have to leave their family to pursue the same.
Pursue
Pursue the same, the career.
career.
And also their work demands to settle away from the family. Isn't it their duty to serve their family?
It is their duty, and if they want to follow a career and this career takes them away from the parents, then they must get the permission of the parents. I know of parents who permit their children to follow their careers, to leave them, to go to foreign countries. The parents permit them. They must have the blessings of their parents before they take any decision. Yes.
Isn't accepting a weakness?
Acceptance. No, acceptance is strength. It is only the strong who can accept. A weak person will never be able to accept. Supposing death has occurred in my family. If I am strong, I will be able to accept it. If I am weak, I will give in to weeping, crying, shedding tears, tearing my hair, breaking my head against the wall. I will do all sorts of things. Acceptance belongs to the strong. Acceptance does not mean acceptance of goody-goody things. You come to the satsang and you get ice cream prasad and you accept it. That is not acceptance. Acceptance is when you are asked to eat lal mirchi and prasad and you don't do it. There is the test of acceptance.
I'm referring to the couple.
Couple.
The lady left the man.
Ha, ha.
The man said it's okay.
The man?
Said it's okay if she went with the
It
people.
depends upon the
Isn't that a
individual.
weakness?
It depends upon the individual's case. If the man is a sadhu, if he is a saint, he will say, I accept. And a sadhu is a strong man, he is not a weak man. But if the husband is tired of his wife, and the wife says, I want to leave you, perhaps he will accept. There are so many husbands. There is one husband, it was the 20th anniversary of his marriage, and his wife found him weeping. And he said to him, darling, why are you weeping? Why are you being so sentimental? He said, I am not being sentimental. But do you remember 20 years ago, your father caught us making love to each other in a barn. Your father came and caught us. And he said to me that now if you will not marry my daughter, I will have you thrown into jail for 20 years. He said, if I had chosen that, at least today I would have been free. So it all depends upon the husband. Yes.
Dada, fear in God should be greater or faith in God should be greater?
It all depends upon what you mean by fear
Fear of God.
and what you mean by faith. I see no conflict between fear and faith. I believe fear and faith are only the two sides of the same coin. Why? Because I regard fear of God as fear of doing something which displeases God. That is what I mean by fear of God. I do not mean that fear of God means that God will throw me into hell or he will burn me in fires and so on and so forth. All that is nonsense. For me, there is only one fear of God. I must not do something which may displease my God, and he may turn his face away from me. Now that fear is linked with faith. The two go together. So there is no conflict between the two. But remember, faith is always stronger than fear. Faith is always, always stronger than fear.
Thank you, Dada.
Because faith is positive, fear is negative. It may be the same thing, but the same thing has two aspects, the positive and the negative. And the positive aspect is always stronger than the negative.